Section F is welcoming our guest council people this particular month. Guest council members for June will be students from the Waverly Shell Rock High School Excel Club. At the invitation of Dr. Rathe, I'll let you introduce your guests.
Sure. Well, I think they can introduce themselves,
There you go.
but it looks like they're taking over, but we're not outnumbered, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
All right. Well, I'm Shea Doyle. I was here last time. I'm a graduated senior now. So, yeah, no longer a student at Waverly Shell Rock High School, but was.
I'm Ari Ellerbrook. I would be a senior at Waverly Shell Rock High School next year, well, this upcoming year, but I'm going to be going abroad to Germany.
And my name is Christoph Lecce, and I will be a senior at high school.
Excellent. Welcome aboard. And just remind us, Dr. Rathe, the Excel Club is a arm of the...
Yeah, it's a branch of the Exchange Club here in town. So it's a really active group. They do a wide variety of community service projects, and so it's great to have them participate.
Yep, great programs to get our youth involved in civic activities. So thank you. Public hearings. Item number 1, this is the date, time, and place for a public hearing for review of the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane project. Mayor and City Council will entertain any comments. After all comments, the hearing will be declared closed and the following action will be considered. Have we received any written or oral comments, Jen?
I have not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Are there any public comments from anybody that has joined us this evening? Seeing nobody rise, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-78, a resolution approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane project.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Kangas. Council discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Jen.
Birgen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and 1 absent, Resolution 23-78 is approved. Brings us to item 1A, Resolution 23-79, awarding the Waverly Municipal Airport Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane project to Midwest Concrete Incorporated. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of Resolution 23-79, a resolution awarding the Waverly Municipal Airport Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane project to Midwest Concrete, Inc. of Peosta, Iowa for the bid amount of $237,782.86.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Rathe. Council discussion, if any. Hearing none, roll call, Jen.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and 1 absent, Resolution 23-79 is approved. Brings us to item 1B, Resolution 23-80, approving McClure Engineering Company's task order number 8 to the on-call agreement for engineering services for construction administration and observation services for the Waverly Municipal Airport Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane project. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-80, a resolution approving McClure Engineering Company's task order number 8 to the on-call agreement for engineering services for construction administration and observation services for the Waverly Municipal Airport Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane project for a not-to-exceed amount of $57,820.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Drenkow. Council discussion, if any. Hearing none, roll call, Jen.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Bergen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and 1 absent. Resolution 23-80 is approved. Get those down. Section 8 is a proclamation, Pride Month proclamation. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation aloud here. City of Waverly Pride Month Proclamation. Whereas the Mayor and City Council of the City of Waverly, Iowa recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2023 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ Pride Month throughout the City of Waverly, Iowa. And whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, LGBTQ individuals have had an immeasurable impact to the culture, civic, and economic successes of our country. And whereas the City of Waverly, Iowa is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ people in our diverse community. And whereas while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the mayor and city council calls upon the people of this municipality to embrace this principle and to work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Waverly's LGBTQ community and is an opportunity to take action and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 as Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ community. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of proclamation proclaiming June 2023 as Pride Month in the city of Waverly, Iowa.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Meyers. Council discussion, if any?
Do you know why Pride Month is in June and not in September? Because Pride goes before the fall.
Oh, jeez. Did you make that up?
No, I read it on Reddit.
Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section I is public comments for items not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. Are there any public comments this evening? See nobody rise, we'll move into the consent calendar, Section J. Item 1, approve the purchase of a Vermeer BC 1400 brush chipper 2006 for the Vegetation Management Division for $30,000 from Waverly Utilities. Item 2 is approve the purchase of a 2024 Freightliner M2 106 cab and chassis for a refuse packer from Elliott Equipment of Grimes, Iowa, for a purchase price of $114,856, and approve the purchase of a New Way Cobra HC 25 CY rear load refuse packer from Elliott Equipment of Grimes, Iowa, for the purchase price of $127,925 plus $700 additional cost for two-way radios, decals, etc., for a total purchase price of $141,677, including the $105,000 trade-in value. Item 3, approve the purchase of a 2023 Freightliner M2 cab and chassis for a street sweeper from Elliott Equipment of Grimes, Iowa, for the purchase price of $95,430, and approve the purchase of a Schwartz A7 Tornado twin engine street sweeper from Elliott Equipment of Grimes, Iowa, for the purchase price of $204,375 plus $700 additional cost for two-way radios, decals, etc., for a total purchase price of $210,505, including the $90,000 trade-in value. Item 4 is approve the sale of the 2010 Chevrolet Silverado dump truck pursuant to Resolution 16-63 to Andy Barber of Crystal Plumbing and Excavation for $14,850. Item 5, pay request from WHKS and Company for $33,520 for the Waverly Bridge Inspection 2023. Item 6 is a pay request from WHKS and Company for $1,501.12 for the tail race wall removal. Item 7 is the pay request from McClure Engineering for $2,070.96 for the Waverly Municipal Airport Construct Taxiway Connector. Item 8 is a pay request from McClure Engineering for $6,081 for the Waverly Municipal Airport Reconstruct South T-Hangar Taxilane. Item 9 is a pay request from Grider Construction Incorporated for $245,051.55 for the Water Pollution Control WPC facility improvements. Item 10 is a pay request from Modern Design for $344 for the Waverly Parks Maintenance Building remodel. 11 is the Casey's General Store number 1649 Class E alcohol license renewal. Item 12 is the Casey's General Store 1649 Class E alcohol license ownership update. Item 13 is a Quick Star 286 Class B alcohol license renewal. Item 14 is cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, vapor permits for Casey's General Store numbers 1649 and 3763. Fairway Store number 561, Greenleaf Tobacco and Vape, High V, Quick Stars number 286, 707 and 752. Liquor and Tobacco Outlet, Walgreens, and Walmart. Item 15 is a pay request from Modern Design Incorporated for $600 for Cedar River Park facilitation. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion by Meyers, second by Rathe. Council discussion, if any.
I just have a quick question on item 5 on the Waverly Bridge inspection. And I know that includes inspecting the rail trail bridges also. Is there any idea when we'll get that report back from the engineers?
We have it.
Okay. Will it get presented to the council at some point?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
That's part of what I've been working on, at least, I think it's the final draft, correct?
I think it's the final report.
So that's what we've been working through on. So yeah, we can get that to you or have a full discussion for council if you prefer. It's whatever you'd like to do.
Okay,
We can get that sent to you tonight, even possibly.
that's all right. I won't look at it tonight.
Well, I still want to get it to you in case you get bored and you want to look at it.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
I'll get to it when he gets done reading the budget again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything further? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section K, regular business, item number 1 is Resolution 23-81, appointing paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent and bond registrar and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of the agreement. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of Resolution 23-81, a resolution appointing paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent and bond registrar and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Rathe. Council discussion. Hearing none, roll call, Jen.
Myers,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and 1 absent. Resolution 81 is approved. Item 2, Resolution 23-81A, authorizing and providing for the issuance and amending the levy of taxes to pay the bonds, approval of the tax exemption certificate, and continuing disclosure certificate. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-81A, a resolution authorizing and providing for the issuance and amending the levy of taxes to pay the bonds, approval of the tax exemption certificate, and continuing disclosure certificate.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Birgen. Council discussion. Hearing none, roll call, Jen.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and 1 absent. Resolution 23-81 is approved. Jen, am I going too fast for you over there? Okay, just want to make sure. Item 3 is Resolution 23-82, approving a signed easement agreement between PATA LLC and the City of Waverly and authorizing the mayor to sign said agreement.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-82, a resolution approving a sign easement agreement between PATA LLC and the City of Waverly for the location of a new Waverly wayfinding sign to be located at 1102 West Bremer Avenue, and authorizing the mayor to sign said agreement.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Kangas. Council discussion.
I just had a question. If the sign is going to be the actual size that's in the picture,
No, it's a little bigger.
and if people are going to be able to see around it when they're trying to turn left onto
It's
Bremer
about half the
Avenue?
size of that.
I checked that on the way in, and you
Can
can
ya?
see on
Okay.
the right lane. So that was my concern too, was that,
It's huge.
yeah.
And it's not that big. I took one picture and transposed it on the sign on there, so.
It's not to scale.
Yeah, it's not to scale.
Okay.
But it's bigger than what
I
you see on the
couldn't get
screen.
backwards enough, you know.
Okay.
I just wanted to know where, I just wanted to know where it's located, the actual
We'll forgive
spot.
the
Yeah.
Photoshop.
You can read it.
If you only knew a person.
Is it going to be about that high in the air?
It is about that high, because it's
Okay.
gonna be similar to that brown sign. the
Okay.
Conservation sign, the bottom, the top is a little bit lower, it's gonna be narrower. It won't be as bad as this one.
Well, I just want to express my gratitude to the people that are letting us put the sign
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
I mean, that
It's
that
nice.
is, shows a lot of civic pride and community spirit, so
Yeah.
thank you to them.
Well, the operators of the restaurant were great about pushing, asking them to do it too, so that was helpful, that was helpful.
It's just one of those things of communicating and cooperating for the betterment of the community that can have those partnerships, so yeah. Hearing nothing further, roll call, Jen.
Schneider?
Yes.
Birgen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and 1 absent. Resolution 23-82 is approved. Item 4 is Resolution 23-83, approving a city contribution of $30,000 to the developer of Cedar Square subdivision for the cost of moving an existing traffic signal streetlight pole to properly align the extension of 13th Avenue Southwest, west of 4th Street Southwest. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-83, a resolution approving a city contribution of $30,000 to the developer of Cedar Square subdivision for the cost of moving an existing traffic signal streetlight pole to properly align the extension of 13th Avenue Southwest, west of 4th Street Southwest.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Kangas. Council discussion.
So I'm looking at image 4 here, trying to understand, making sure I understand that what pole is going where.
It's already done.
Okay, I'll go look at it.
Oh, so is this the picture of the doneness?
This is before.
No,
This is before.
This is the before.
We widened the street so it had 3 lanes at the end, and it went right into that where that streetlight traffic pole was. And it's a pretty,
So that
it's
went
very, there's a lot of things in that corner, which took a lot
Further
of
south,
digging
okay.
and careful operation of moving the lines, and there's a lot of stuff in the ground right there. So, and it's something that we required the developer to do, so it would be safer.
So if you're looking at the photo, it's the middle-ish one on the
On the right.
right. So that got pushed further south. To widen that whole driveway out, is what kind of mirrors the one across from it, so you have a good transition across.
Do we know what the total expense was?
It was 30,000 to move the.
So we paid 100%?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Definitely benefits us going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Because it really aligns that up better, and then that's gonna help an expansion across, which you can see is already happening, so I'm glad that's existing.
Hearing nothing further, roll call, Jen.
Birgen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and 1 absent. The resolution 23-83 is approved. Item 5 is resolution 23-84, setting the alley reconstruction 2023 project bid letting for June 27th, 2023, and setting the public hearing date for July 10th, 2023, to review and approve the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-84, a resolution setting the alley reconstruction 2023 project bid letting for June 27, 2023, and setting the public hearing date for July 10, 2023, at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers at City Hall to review and approve the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
How many more years of alley reconstruction do we anticipate?
I think we'll continue to do it as long as there's a benefit to be found. If you look at this alley itself, and I advise you to look at it in the winter, because it looks awesome. Behind OP, it's rough, and we've had work done back there, it's been cut, it's been patched, it's tough, and those are the kind of alleys we want to help. It's not so much just a back entrance to the businesses, it's that safety, it's that additional money we need to spend on these. It's part of infrastructure. It's just the other side of the buildings, but that is a rough stretch of alley. And so as long as those are the kind that we're looking at, I suppose at some point we'll have hit all the ones we can hit, but we'll take a look every year kind of where we're at and what we're doing. So it may be hit and miss, it may not be every single year, but this one we thought for sure was a good candidate because it was pretty tough back there. It really is.
None of these alleys before we started on the reconstruction project, it seems like they've been patched over and cobbled together for a long time.
I think the utilities usually wait, the out-of-town ones, till we're done, then they come and tear them up eventually.
I noticed that.
Guaranteed, within 2 weeks, you're gonna have somebody cutting a hole in there to put fiber in that they could have done. We gave them notice a year ago, well, now it's time to do it, after it's brand new concrete. It's happened behind the diner, it just happens everywhere. I just don't know what it is, but it's almost guaranteed.
It's easier to cut when it's smooth.
I think so. It'd be nice if we put it back as smooth as it was to cut it though, and that doesn't always happen. But
I know we budgeted, if I remember correctly, look it up, 75,000 a year normally for
believe
this.
so.
The last several years, we were somewhat under that amount, and I know the commentary was that this would be a little bit more than that. So I would assume that there's been some funds building up in that amount, so we should be able to cover it.
We should, and we pull this from local option sales tax, so if there is an overage, we've been able to, of course, take care of that. Then, like I said, we'll continue to budget each year. We'll come to you with another alley to look at. You can decide if we do another one or not. But this one was kind of a no-brainer. It's getting worse and worse. And like I said, the winter, it's treacherous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's got that hill there, and it's pretty much just gravel, and
Good
it's
roads.
washed out and rutted, and there's a lot of traffic on that alley.
More than you would think would be, yeah. There's a lot of people taking it. Maybe just for the first time they're gonna take it. They'll take it again because,
A lot of first-time
or may not make
drivers.
it down there, but you may leave parts behind. It's rough, especially when you get to the bottom.
Yeah.
And you're hopefully not hitting that front end of the, it'll be something to see when it's done. It'll be, and you get skateboards going down. Forget I said that.
Sledding.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, I hope not. Put hay bales at the bottom of that, Garrett, in case the sledding goes down, and have to barricade that off.
Bobsleds.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Slid off course, I think.
Yeah, you're gonna do it once in a while.
That's right. Roll call, Jen.
Bergen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and one absent. Resolution 23-84 is approved. Item 6 is Resolution 23-85, approving a plat of survey for Parcel 2 and Parcel JJ for property located at 522 First Street Southwest and 108 Fifth Avenue Southwest, Waverly, Iowa. Entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 23-85, a resolution approving a plat of survey for Parcel II and Parcel JJ for property located at 522 First Street Southwest, Waverly, Iowa, and 108 Fifth Avenue Southwest.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Rathe. Council discussion.
Makes a lot of sense, moving the lots that way. I can
It's
understand why they want to do that.
just shifting them.
Just,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll be back to back with the other two lots instead of being one behind two
And they'll
houses?
both be looking out over the river.
That's right.
But these are
Okay, so it's
obviously.
gonna be facing their east-west now.
They're gonna face the
Right.
river
Those two
now.
Okay.
lots, so they would
Gotcha.
be the other way. These are obviously not flood lots, or they were houses that were removed, but they were purchased from an individual or developer that purchased them at that time.
I think somebody removed the second house without using those funds. So I think that's what, I mean, it got removed not too many years ago.
Okay.
So it's gonna be good, they'll both have views of the river, so that
Yes.
makes sense.
Hearing nothing further, roll call, Jen.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Bergen.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 and one absent. Resolution 23-85 is approved. Item 7, Resolution 23-86, approving change orders number 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the Cedar River Park Maintenance Building for Steggy Construction. Entertain a motion.
All right, I'm going to take a shot at this one. I move to approve Resolution 23-86, a resolution approving change order numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 for Cedar River Park Maintenance Building for Steggy Construction. Change order number 1 to add 3 floor drains and modify water meter piping for a net increase of $1,420. Change order number 2 to change hardware and doors from passage to storeroom function for a net increase of $407. Change order number 3 to add door closures to restroom doors for a net increase of $1,137. And change order number 4 to add bulkhead framing to overhead plumbing in restrooms for the net increase of $2,039. All 4 change orders are a total net increase of $5,003 for Steggy Construction for the Cedar River Ball Diamond, is that right? That we were talking
Cedar
about the park, oh yeah, Cedar River
Oh.
Park Ball Diamonds project.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
I would just like to say thank you for the summary statement that
Yes.
explained why each change order was requested and kind of put it in just real-world terms of helping me understand why.
I was going to mention that too, thank you. I assume, Garrett, that you did that. That was very helpful and concise, and I even understood it, so.
Hearing nothing further, roll call Jen.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and 1 absent, Resolution 23-86 is approved. Item 8 is Resolution 23-87, approving change orders number 1, 2, and 3 for Cedar River Park restrooms, concession stand, and press boxes for Mott Construction. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of Resolution 23-87, a resolution approving change order numbers 1, 2, and 3 for Cedar River Park restrooms, concession stand, and press box for Mott Construction. Change order number 1 to add R10 foam to concession stand and restroom buildings for a net increase of $1,900. Change order number 2 to add piping, floor drains, and other hardware to the concession stand and restroom buildings for a net increase of $4,269. Change order number 3 to add closers on concession stand and restroom building doors at Cedar River Park for a net increase of $3,678. All 3 change orders are a total net increase of $9,847. For Cedar River Park restrooms, concession stand, and press boxes for Mott Construction, the Cedar River Park Ball Diamonds project.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Meyers. Council discussion. Hearing none, roll call Jen.
Myers,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Bergen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
On a vote of 6-0 and 1 absent, Resolution 23-87 is approved. Brings us to item number 9, Resolution 23-88, approving change order numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the Parks Maintenance Building Office remodel. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 23-88, a resolution approving change order numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for the Parks Maintenance Building Office remodel. Change order number 1 to add an allied glass industrial louver canopy to the Parks Maintenance Building for a net increase of $15,537. Change order number 2 to use alternative lighting through the Parks Maintenance Building for a net decrease of $6,250. Change order number 3 to modify the existing water service for the Parks Maintenance Building for the net increase of $13,500. Change order number 4 to remove and replace existing concrete for the net increase of $4,630. Change order number 5 for framing additions for the net increase of $2,584. All 5 change orders are a total net increase of $30,092 for the Parks Maintenance Building Office remodel project.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
These are a little tougher, I will say, but once you start digging into a 60-some-year-old building, these are what you're gonna find. And I'm just glad it was no more than this, honestly. I mean, it's a pretty good remodel going on. It'll be close to $1 million when it's done. I'll take the 30,000. Especially the water service was the hardest one. We didn't see that coming at all. Once I got into it, it had to be rerouted. It's again, 65 years old, and this is what it hit us for. So it's a little bit more than the other ones, but again, this is a much more complex redevelopment. So I was glad to see what it was.
My only thought was, is the wall of the building structurally sound enough to hold that canopy up?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
It's got good bones. It's solid. It's not pretty yet. It's gonna get there. It's just, yeah.
Hearing nothing further, roll call Jen.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Bergen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
On a vote of 6-0 and 1 absent, Resolution 23-88 is approved. Brings us to item 10, Resolution 23-89, approving change order number 1, adding the perimeter road at Harlington Cemetery to the 2023 bituminous seal coat program.
I will move approval of Resolution 23-89, a resolution approving change order number 1, adding the perimeter road at Harlington Cemetery to the 2023 bituminous seal coat program for an additional estimated cost of $11,524.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Kangas. Council discussion.
So rather than do a separate project, we're just adding that on to our existing to get scale on it.
Yep, a lot better pricing. It's just quantity then, quantity materials, and it'll really help the outside of the cemetery there. It's due.
And it's
And I will say, the guys, Justin, they have done a tremendous job. Patching, leveling, as you can see it around certain areas of town as well, getting ready for the seal coating district. It made a huge difference just being out there over Memorial Day. The roads in general are way better than they were. So I think it's gonna be really nice when they get done.
So could this be added to this particular district, but done like every other time going forward, depending on use, or just drop it in like we've done?
Possible, I mean, I guess you'd have to look at it each year.
I mean, just for
decide if we
budgeting
would
purpose.
Put it on top of it, because we knew we were necessarily needing it. And we're gonna be doing seal coating in every district 1 year, so I guess if we decide it's getting bad enough, it needs to be redone again, you would just add it into the quantity of the district it's gonna be.
Just
done,
like we're
so,
doing here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
I didn't know if
that
it would make sense to just add it into this district so you knew,
So every 7 years, it would be redone,
right?
you could.
We have thought about that and including parking lots as
Yep.
well,
Yep.
some of the parking lots
Yeah.
that we have. So, yeah, we just haven't got that far yet.
Yep, okay.
That's a good idea.
Hearing nothing further, roll call Jen.
Schneider?
Yes.
Birgen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Meyers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
A vote is 6-0 and one absent. Resolution 23-89 is approved. Item 11, Resolution 23-90, approving a platted survey for parcel KK and parcel LL located at 418 Timberwood Road, parcel ID 09022260025 and parcel ID 09022260027, Waverly, Iowa. Entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 23-90, a resolution approving a plat of survey for parcel KK and parcel LL located at 415 Timberwood Road, parcel ID 09022260025 and parcel ID 09022260027, Waverly, Iowa.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Kangas, just reconfirming a slip of the tongue, 418 instead of 415 when you're reading.
Thank you.
That's 415.
415.
Ours says 415.
Mine says 418. All right, so it is 415.
The resolution says 415.
Mine says 18, so we'll go with 415 as you are most likely correct,
My
so.
eyes can
we'll
go
with
either
that.
way.
I trust Andy.
I will too. So, any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question. It looks like there's 3 parcels or 3 lots consolidating into 2. Just wondering what the background was about why that had to be done.
So those parcels were actually then kind of superimposed over other parcels that went across previous lines. It was very complicated. What the landowners want to do is have the left parcel be their residential area. And we thought it better to make a straight line between the 2 parcels and leave the other parcel as a separate parcel. It also helped them with the location of the home that they wanted to put on their property, to move
I
that.
mean, as far as setbacks and
Yes.
things like that?
They're
or-
in that corner, kind of above where Andrew's name is on the original.
Right there.
So it worked out best for everybody, and that second parcel can be subdivided separately if it ever chooses to be, and this one can remain unsubdivided on the left side. The left
So
side.
is that the intention?
Yes,
To
well, the,
put other houses in there,
no,
or?
I mean, the intention is to leave it the way it is, so, and have that one home. But we always like flexibility in the future, so if anybody else buys it, it makes it easier for that to happen at some point. Because there's access points on the east side of the parcel on the right. You can get access through 3rd Avenue Northeast, and it actually fronts 8th Street, or
Yeah.
9th Street Northeast.
Yeah.
But that's just whoever owns it and whatever they decide to do.
Anything further? Hearing none, roll call Jen.
Birgen?
Yes.
Drenkow?
Yes.
Kangas?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Rathe?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 and one absent, Resolution 23-90 is approved. Item 12, legislative update by City Administrator James Bronner.
All right, so I've redone this 2 or 3 times, trying to simplify it each time. The summary of the bill, we're gonna talk about House File 718, the summary is 69, 70 pages. Because that's county, everything else, so I've got a different summary, came out of League of Cities, which was probably, I don't know how many pages that is, and we've tried to trim out, trim out, trim out. So it's still a lot. I'll kind of walk you through what this is gonna do, the changes it'll be for us as a city, and kind of where we go. So as you know, this is one of the last bills that was approved for the legislature left for the year. It was kind of a last minute, negotiate something out, everybody was happy, and they all went home. Well, now we get to figure out the after effect of what it really does to us. And so, one of the biggest things that was talked about was assessments. I know everybody's had their homes reassessed, and they were substantial. Personally, I don't think this was necessary at all. You have the equalization order you could have used. The rollback eliminates, I mean, there's other tools that could have been done instead of creating a whole nother law to try and show that something was done. There were other tools that could have handled the same thing, but it's neither here nor there, I guess now. So
could you back up, James?
Sure.
What did it do about assessments that you feel is duplicate?
I'm going to show you right now. So we all deal in our general fund. And for those of you that are attending now, general fund pays for pretty much anything in general, hence the name. $8.10 per thousand per valuation, taxable valuation. This is all non-TIF taxable valuation we're going to talk about. That's where it gets a little bit hairy. $8.10 is the cap. It's been the cap for decades and decades. It's never really gone up. There are another 20 different levies that you can have. If you want one for the orchestra, there's a certain cent limit there. We have one for the Civic Center, it's 13.5 cents per thousand. You can have them for all kinds of things. There's literally 20 of them. Those are all going away. And so at one point, so fiscal 25, you will establish what is a consolidated, I won't give you the acronym, it's ACGLX, whatever it is. You will consolidate all of your existing levies in, and we only have the two, thankfully, so it's not going to affect debt, or it's not going to affect pensions, health insurance, which makes me wonder then what is it going to really affect? What was the point of doing it? Because it doesn't affect that much. But we will lose $65,000 in today's dollars of the money we use for Civic Center maintenance going forward. So next year you'll have a consolidated debt, and ours will be $8.23.5. That's the 8.10 plus the 13.5 for Civic Center. We don't have any of the rest of those levies. Some are voted on, we just don't. So that was fine to see that. And then fiscal 25 to 28, there'll be some formulas that are driven. If you go down, you will not be going back up, things of that nature. So it's really moving to try and cap everybody lower and lower and lower, which allows you to generate less and less income based on the taxes.
Question.
Sure.
So you said there's like 30 some different of these types of taxes that are 20. They're being consolidated into one. We only use two of them.
Correct.
So we're going from 810 to, you said 823.
823.5.
And a half. And that's because we were using the Civic Center. If we had, so do different cities have different like boosts depending on how many of them they were using previously?
Sure.
So because we were only using two of them, we went up to 823.5,
Yep.
but someone else might go up to 840 if they were using more of
Sure.
these. So what we went up, how much that went up is determined on what
It's
we were
not so much
previously
we went
using.
up, we're using it today.
Right.
That's what our new, again, the formula is that you're gonna have to calculate now, which makes it so much more complicated.
Right.
The top of this formula is gonna be your consolidated levies now.
Right.
And again, it doesn't take in $4 some for debt or benefits or anything like that, they're truly just general fund. So we're at $8.23.5, that's what Waverly's at. Des Moines has more, they have symphony tax, they have all kinds of things they do, other cities. So again, fiscal 25, budget will build next, through fiscal 28, you'll have a formula that'll play into this, we'll get that in a minute. Fiscal 29, all those go away, and now you're at 810, and that's it. That's where you'll stay. So that's where we lose the $65,000 or whatever it would be in those dollars. Going forward, we will no longer be able to levy for the Civic Center maintenance, and all the other cities that have all the others, those are gone too now. There's a couple that went through that were voted, I believe, and again, the summary keeps evolving, so it's the best we know of today. But as I said, it doesn't include our debt, our property and liability insurance, our benefits, pensions, all that, which is really almost as much of the budget as the 810 is. So it's kind of interesting that wasn't touched, thankfully. There's always next year. So our non-TIF taxable value for this year is just over $474 million. Now we're almost double that when it comes to what the true worth of the city is. We're pushing $900 million. So as I've said before, if you want to sell off the entire city of Waverly, it'd be about $900 million to buy it all. So what we could tax against though, non-TIF, it's about $474 million. So that's where it starts to get fun. So our average growth last 15 years has been about 3.6%. And there were some high years, 7, 8, 9%, depending on rollbacks. And there's been some very low years. In fact, this last year, when they corrected the rollback problem they created, and then we kind of took that hit, we went from 2% down to negative 0.2. So we lost valuation last year on the taxable side. So we're still growing, we're just losing what we can tax against because of the rollback and how it's working now. And so last 10 years, we average about 3.5. Last 5 years, we're about 2.8.
So when you're saying that growth, you're talking about the taxable valuations, not the actual value of the city.
Correct. The amount of valuation we can tax against.
Right.
Because again, this is all post-rollback. This is not what 100% is worth, it's what we can actually tax against. And I don't know how much you guys understand this. So if you have a house, $100,000, you don't pay taxes on $100,000. The Department of Revenue will determine what the rollback is. So it rolls back that amount down to 54%. That's all you pay taxes on, or 56 or 48 or wherever it's gonna go. So instead of us receiving taxes for the 100,000, we're only getting taxes on 54,000. And Iowa's kind of unique in that. A lot of states don't have this kind of weird system, but that's what we do here. So the same thing happens with commercial property, industrial property. They're at 90%. They've kind of stayed there. Agriculture is all over the place. It could be 45, it could be 88. It's really everywhere. And then the multi-residential they created 5 or 6 years ago, it has now dropped down to where it's the same as just regular housing, so it's been disbanded. It doesn't exist anymore. So it's all housing. And again, if you get lost, ask questions. That's what we're here is trying to explain all this to you. So,
I was wondering, if we're losing around $65,000, like you said, and other cities are losing substantially more based
Could
off
be.
of the levies that they previously had, what was the point of this? What were they trying to accomplish here, if this was a bipartisan issue supposedly?
ask your congressman. If they'll tell you, then you can tell us. Because
Congressman.
Legislature.
we've got no, well, state congress, what I call it.
Yeah.
We have no idea what the point of this was, honestly. It was in the name of tax reform and to cut taxes and to cut taxes. But I think in essence, what it'll do is eliminate our ability to generate revenue to keep doing the things that we as a city want to do, or you as citizens want us to do. And it gets better yet. So sit tight, it's gonna get worse as we go through the other things that were taken away that you can't do anymore.
Because those extra levies, I mean, they were voted on.
Some were.
Some
were
were.
just allowed to have happened.
Yeah.
And again, it's 384.12 is the code section. You wanna go ahead and read it? I'm gonna pull Iowa code up online.
What do you call it?
384.12 of the Iowa code lists out the 20 different levies, a few of which are still held, but most of those are all gonna consolidate and go away. And like I said, fiscal 29, they're all gone. It goes to 810, and that's your limit, according to what we're seeing in the summary so far. So like I said, our average is about 2.8% growth in our valuations year after year, taxable. So they have 3 tiers now, because this is gonna be so simple. We have 3 tiers. If you grow less than 3%, then you truly get to have what you grew. So if it's 2.9, you don't have to do anything different. You get to use your 2.9% growth. That's great. We'll probably not hit that above that very often. If you grow between 3 and 6%, you're only gonna get 2% growth. So it's almost, you wanna grow as fast as you can to 3, but don't go over 3, because then you're gonna get down to 2.
So you actually get, you don't get 3, you get 2.
You get 2.
So
And
it's
that is
not-
what the summary
so-
has told us.
So if you're at 2.9, you get 2.9. If you're at 3.1, you get 2.
Yeah,
So you're basically
yeah.
that's kind of bad.
If you grow over 6%,
And it's not like you can control that.
no, this is the way it is. So if you go over 6%, then you get 3% growth in your valuations. And then that translates into, and again, valuation is just one piece of it. That's handled by the county assessors, nothing we control. We control the amount we spend, that together nets out to what your tax rate is. So it's a formula, you can't just change one piece and fix the whole thing. Other things evolve then. And it doesn't do what you think it's gonna do. And if you try to box it in completely, all you do is lose a bunch of money for local government, and then we can't do the things we have to do. But we're just whining about it, according to one of the senators, and so, you know, we're not gonna actually do anything. We're just whining about it, Bobby Kaufman. So you're down to 3% growth. So if you're a Waukee, a Bondurant, who's growing at 20, 30% a year, massive taxing for housing and growth, et cetera, you're now down at 3. So where is the incentive to build, to put in the infrastructure, to continue to grow, when you can only tax against 3% of growth? And that's the problem that I guess I have with this whole thing. Is I feel like you just turned the engine off the state economy. I have no idea what or why. So, again, other things will come out. This is the summary we have, but that's the basis of what the assessment issue was. And again, equalization order, which happens every other year, it's a simple thing. The Department of Revenue says, if you're an assessor in Bremer County and we don't feel you're doing your job, they are. Don't take that personal if you're watching. They could say, we want to raise every residential house 20% in Waverly, because we don't think you've put enough on it. You can do the reverse of that and reduce assessments by 20% as well, which would have knocked out the majority of what the issues are that everybody's complaining about. You could have used that, but we didn't. We have to create a brand new law. So here's what we did. This is what we did for the year. So that is kind of the worst of what you're seeing from an assessment side. I don't know what that'll translate into to taxes, because again, we will come forward with the budget, same as we do. We'll have a dollar amount we feel we're gonna need to operate, equipment replacements, whatever it might be. Against that assessment, we'll generate a tax rate. Whether or not we have enough in these taxes to do it will then go into your fund balance, which we know we do not have near as much as we used to. Most cities are gonna start feeling this as well. In order to keep that same rate, they're gonna have to dip into their fund balances, which will eventually, you have a limit there too. So when that's gone, you really have problems. And that's what starts to affect your ratings. And I mean, it's all this doom and gloom, because that's kind of what it does here. And this is, again, just 1 year of multiple years, we're told now, of this new kind of tax. So that's the fun there. Any questions on assessment and the logic? I don't know.
So, I mean, I would think, let's say you're a developer and you want to develop a subdivision and you want to have shared expenses with the city. A city's going to have to look at whether they can even afford to help you build that subdivision.
Depending on how they fund it. Yes,
Yeah,
depending on how they fund
how
it.
it's
You have
funded.
water, sewer, you
Yeah.
can put fees there for that. You have agreements you could do, you go into TIF. I mean, there's ways around all this. This is not gonna cripple us in a sense. It just makes things a lot harder, a lot harder. And we're looking at a new pool, hopefully. We're looking at golf course improvements. We're looking at playgrounds. We'll get to the vote on that. That was another good one. It just makes it all harder, and it takes us out further. And your question, Rod, we brought up multiple times. We like to have a document that, I have no idea now. I mean, that limits any possibility of going over 3% growth year to year, so you can't take advantage of the growth that happened, the housing you brought in. You really can't take advantage of that from a taxing standpoint. And the logic was that they figured some cities, and maybe some did do this, when you have a huge boon, a huge increase in assessed value, you spend a whole lot, take advantage of all that, and your rate stays the same, and you tell, oh, the rate stayed the same. A lot of cities didn't do that. When it went up quite a bit, the assessments, you lowered the rate quite a bit, because it doesn't need as much to get the same money you're after. And that's what I think most responsible cities did, is what we do. We don't just gouge and go after a bunch of extra spending. We come to you not knowing sometimes what these numbers even are yet. Until January, we don't have any idea what the assessments are. And as you know, end of January, we're having meetings to determine the budget. So that's kind of where it sits. The other couple items that have occurred, so homestead credit.
Well, actually, so one more thing.
Yeah.
So we're talking about if our valuations go up by, say, more than 3%, bad things happen, or relatively unpleasant things.
It's not, we don't get what we thought we would get.
But when we're talking about those valuations, is that valuations on existing homes? Is that not new growth?
Everything,
So if we just grow in population by 3%,
new housing, et cetera.
so I mean,
You don't get to realize that
right,
growth.
there's going to be a certain amount of growth just because of inflation. So this is really discouraging cities from doing the sorts of things that cause them, if there's a risk they're going to grow too fast, we want to kind of slow that down a little bit.
How do you keep up the infrastructure to grow at 20% when you can only tax accordingly at 3%? If that's truly how this is gonna play out.
Well,
Again,
and
this is all we know right
if
now.
we're seeing inflation is like 3%, if we like have any new housing developments, that's gonna push us over that 3% limit, and now we're gonna have to scale back to a 2% growth of
The
taxation.
assessments will-
Assessments, right. But I mean, so it seems like this is really encouraging us to slow growth rather than grow at a reasonable rate.
Yeah, it's difficult. And again, if you look at the metro, you look at the Ankeny, and the cities are booming, I don't know what this will do to them. Now, again, they can go off reserves for a while, they can increase their rates that have maybe gone down. there'll be some time before this really sets in, that they'll make adjustments, they'll try and go forward and see what else happens, but it's hard to say what will go on going forward. Like I said, our fund balance isn't what we want it to be. It's fine, it's strong for a city our size. I mean, you were here when Moody said it, we're in good shape. We can't keep depleting it and try and keep up with this if this is what's gonna happen. So for us as a city, it's not the end of the world by any means. We don't usually grow more than 3%. We sit around 2 or 2.5. We don't grow that fast. We'll be okay overall, but again, I agree. If you have 30, 40 houses come online, which we're hoping to do if that subdivision goes through in 3 years, what does that do for growth that we can't then capitalize on? After you put infrastructure in, or you help put it in, or, you know, what does that really do? And that'll be kind of the tale across the state. And so I'm more curious what the large, fast-growing communities are gonna do when this really starts to set in, that all of a sudden now you can't grow at 23%, you can't lower your tax levy 23 cents. It still goes up because your growth has been checked. And then the rates will start to go up, and then we'll probably be curbed because we're raising the rates. And I mean, there is no end to this, because you can't just take one piece of it and try and fix it and expect the rest of it to fall in line. It doesn't work like that. I've said many, many times, like a balloon, you squeeze this in, it's gonna get bigger. If you don't, it's gonna pop.
I'm frustrated that they don't seem to understand that multiplication is commutative.
Yeah.
That 60% to 50% is the same as 50% to 60%. I mean, so if they decrease the valuations and taxes go up, that's the same as if one goes down the other. I mean, they don't
It's a tough
understand
one,
that.
and I will say, I give credit to my peers in the metro, they pounded on this left and right, they showed the examples, this was gonna happen, and it still went through. So it was a compromise, I just don't know of what necessarily, but I guess this is better than what could have been. We just don't really know, so.
So what you're telling me is the state's actively trying to curb growth.
Curb taxes.
Yeah,
And this is the way
taxes.
they believe it'll happen. If they cut the assessments down, then they think you won't be able to tax as much.
So it seems like,
Some of that might be true, but in the end, is that really what you want, is to curb assessment, curb taxes, which curbs revenue, which curbs local government?
Which curbs?
Is that what we're after? Is that what we want to do? You know, we talk about placemaking all across the state, and Bill and I have talked about this for years. All the projects they want to get done, the great big things that are happening, well, I can't afford to do it now because I can't bond for much more, and I've already burned up a bunch in this. I mean, it makes it much more difficult. It's still possible, we'll still find a way, that's what we're gonna do. It's just a lot more difficult now, and it's gonna take a lot more time to get some of this done.
seems like this is mostly a political reaction to upcoming assessments jumping, but what if they're wrong? I mean, what happens in a deflationary environment, which we could very well go into with housing?
Absolutely.
I mean, that would be,
Was anybody thinking that far ahead? I don't think you'd have passed this if you were. So where's the economic side of it? Where's the economists that are talking to these individuals that are doing this? Where's anybody listening to anybody in the day-to-day doing this job? And that's what I think is missing, and there's just no credibility.
I mean, if that, let's say that happens and we have a year where it goes down 20%, and we had a year it went up, it can go down too.
I suppose we can use all the part that went down.
Yeah.
We can take all that. There's no floor on it, just a ceiling. So that's the other side, is where's the floor? If things
So
do go
you
south.
could potentially grow then, if you grow in population, have deflation, you could grow and make it work.
Yeah. So like I said, it'll get there. We'll find out, and maybe they're right. Maybe this is all, we just don't know anything. Maybe this is all just gonna be perfect. It's gonna be great for us.
Well, they'll definitely have to tweak it as they go along year to year, I'm sure.
I hope they don't touch it. Let us just leave it alone, let us figure it out, and keep moving forward.
Whether they have to or
The
not,
constant
they will,
tweak is-
but that's what they do.
So the better stuff, because this gets even more now. So homestead credits, if you're 65 or over, and I think this is a good thing, it's very easy to give away other people's money. So homestead credits will go up $3,250 if you're 65 or older in fiscal '25. That will increase to $6,500 in fiscal '26 and beyond.
That's just the valuation goes down that way.
Correct.
Yeah,
What, say that again?
the valuation reduces that. You get a credit for
Right,
valuation.
against the valuation.
Not
So-
dollar.
Not the tax.
The state
That's the valuation.
is going to pay the current amount, but all the extra, that comes to us now. So we have even less valuation taxable that we can deal with. Military, it's the same thing, it's gonna go up to $4,000, but state's not gonna keep any of that, that all comes now onto us as well. So all these increases they gave away and it made everybody happy, that's all money it wasn't theirs to give away, now it's us paying for it as local government on the credits against our taxable valuation. So it even deflates it more, and that's frustrating as well, so.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying here. that
You bet.
They're the state implemented these credits, but there's no state funds to pay the taxes that are being reduced by the credits.
Correct.
So basically, these credits are reducing the valuations that we can make without any kind of support back.
Part we can tax
from the
against,
state.
correct. And so it's again, it just goes again, it's like, it's easy to give it away, it wasn't your money, so there you go.
And on the average, the best I understand it, it's like $110 for an average home in Bremer County on this first year
Yeah.
is what you'll see out of pocket difference.
Yeah.
So we have no idea the impact, because I don't know who will sign up, I don't know how it'll work, we don't know what that impact's gonna be, so that'll be, I guess, another surprise January 1st, like, well, look at that number, that's not very good.
These are all for old people. We'll all
It
sign
is.
up.
I hope you
The
do.
line has been long.
There's gotta be something good
Go with
coming out of this. And so there's also changes to property tax abatement contracts, Bill can worry about that. There's a special provision in there for transit funding for City of Des Moines, which, oh my God. And then we get to the budget. So now, by March 15th, we will have to submit an annual report listing 8, 9, 10 different things that go to the auditor's office. So that by the 20th of March, they can send out a listing of taxes and what they are, what they're gonna be, all this information to property tax owners all across the county. So I don't know what the postage will cost on that, but I bet it's a little bit. And that's for everybody. And then we will have to have another public hearing now for that information that was sent out, completely separate from any other meeting that we've had. I did read this as well to make sure I wasn't slipping, because it's been hours and hours of studying this. My eyes are really getting bad, but it is a meeting just of that hearing, and that's it. It specifically says you cannot really talk about anything else, it can only be for that. So another separate meeting, another hearing. Our hope is that that at least eliminates the maximum property tax levy, the one that really didn't do any good, it really didn't mean anything. We're hoping that kind of goes away. But the shift will move the budget then for the city to April 30th deadline, not March like it was. So that gives us a mere 60 days till the year end, and then we jump in, and that's, I'm not sure how we feel about that yet.
Can you
That's really-
piggyback meetings? Have you looked at the fine print in that? Can you piggyback?
Adjourn and then have one right afterwards.
I don't think that's probably gonna be allowed, but we'll sure
Or
exploit
do
it
a,
if we
do a
can.
5 o'clock and
Yeah.
a 7 o'clock.
It's just those things that we're gonna start thinking about. Because I'm not sure why it's specifically done that way. And again, it's to make taxpayer and everybody aware of what's being taxed for, and it's great. I thought we already did that. I mean, we published it, it's on the websites, it's on every full social media we have, it's in the newspaper, it's in our meetings. We have 8-hour meetings on Saturdays to talk about every single dollar going into this budget. And yet, here's another hearing to do the exact same thing we're already doing. So again, it's just more and more and more. So bond elections, this is the other one that probably hits us worse maybe than other cities. You know, as we have been talking about, we're looking to redo all Memorial Park. New pool, you know, shelters, playgrounds, you know, all this stuff, this wonderful stuff we'd like to do. The amenities, you know, the golf course, which is doing very well, I'll have, you know, changing that and all these things. The maintenance building we have to build because it's kind of falling in. All those take a vote, or a lot of them take a vote, a referendum of the public. While they did increase the amount for general corporate purpose, which was good, so from 700,000 it went to 910, I believe, 30%. Now you can only have one vote, one day per year, November election day. And that's it. And if it doesn't go through, you have an entire another year, you have to wait to try again. So as I said, everything gets delayed a lot. We're still gonna try and work, I'll bring something back to you at some point this fall, to try and get language changed on the ballot for local option sales tax, because I don't see any possible funding a pool and other things unless you can use some local option to help it. If that doesn't occur, I don't know what's next. So we're gonna try and take that one at a time and try and do that this fall while we still can, because I think it's a quicker change to get that done. And then we'll know going forward how we can fund a possible pool and other things. Without that, it's straight tax, because I don't know that we're gonna get a lot of grants, we're gonna get a lot of any of that. And that's a pretty good lift to do all tax on a pool. The estimates are it's gonna hurt. That's gonna be a pleasant one. I don't know if I could vote for that, honestly, at this point in time. That'd be tough.
We still have local option sales tax, they haven't taken that and made that statewide.
That's next year, we're thinking.
Okay.
Because that'll be the focus next year, we believe, where they'll take it away, and give it back eventually, and we'll see how that all goes out. But that's the other side of it, that, you know, it failed again this year twice, now it's gone, it's failed. So I do think that'll become a priority. Now that some of the rest of this got done, it just seems to be a group that really wants to take that local option sales tax. And I still contend, if you're gonna give it back, why take it at all? And that's what's frustrating to me. And so that's the part that's been interesting. So again, I think it'll be next year, you'll see another attempt. It's hard to say if it goes through. But in the meantime, it's gonna be good for us to get possibly a language change in, because even if it's taken away, so to speak, and given back, it'll still have to follow the same guidelines you've established for usage of the local option sales tax. And that'll allow us to, like I said, look at possible pool funding and things of that nature.
That bonding limit, they were talking of going from like 700 to 500, weren't they? So
And I think
they ended
they
up going the other way.
changed it for more buy-in, and so it went to
They stuck
910
up
instead.
and fiddled with the voting.
So this is the amount you can fund something without having a.
Not a
bond
referendum,
election,
correct.
yeah. And currently, is it twice a year you can do bond
I
referendum?
think it was 3 times a year.
3 times.
I think it was in March, I want to say June, and I know during the regular election as well, and now it's just one. So,
And why, what was the purpose in limiting that? Since
so
it
that
goes
you
to
don't have
vote?
to have all these votes, and you don't get a group that's destined to do it in March when nobody turns out to push it through. And so you keep people from, so I took away your option as a community to have a local vote.
Right, right.
And I cannot believe that we tolerate this. They took away your option. You don't have a choice now to whether you want to vote on a local project for your local community, put your local money at. You don't have that choice now. They took it away. You get to do it 1 day a year now, not 2 or 3. I just don't understand the influence and the attack on local government and home rule. I mean, it's just taking away all these things that we have had the right to do, and now it makes it a lot more difficult. You know as well as I do in November, what's happening. There's chaos, craziness, silliness, all the screaming at each other politically, and God, taxes, and you're about to put on, we'd like you to support $6-8 million. You think it's gonna go through? Of course not. And I think that was intentional, I really do. That's the day. You get the most turnout, and it's the most chance of voting.
So when you have only 1 day
Yep.
per year to vote on a big project, and it fails, it's just backlogged for another year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything with it, you can't publicly cheer for it, you can't put out, it really limits what we can do, and so
And-
you try again next year.
And it'll pile up. You've got all these projects
Right.
that you want to get through,
You'd
and
like
want to
to
get
do it.
done, and
You are correct.
it's unbelievable. How come I did not even know about any of this?
House File 718, you should read the whole depth of it, because it is a big, long bill, and it has county in there and all this other stuff, but the city portion is what we're focused on, and it's right out there, it was all public, it's just, it's what it was.
It was passed in the middle of the night.
No, just at the end of session, you know, it's kind of a, we want to get adjourned, and so we got to get,
I would say from a political science, it also applies to counties and school districts.
It does.
And school districts were ones that probably have used the local vote more than others.
you hear about that, yeah.
They would do the bond issues, and if it failed, they would come back and do another bond issue right away. And if that
But there was a
failed, they would
law
do-
already in place, though, allowed only 2 in a year. You
Right.
had to wait a half
But-
a year to do it, so it's not like you gain much going from 2 to 1.
Well, and if you don't
So I
want to
really
vote
don't
against
understand
it,
it.
Yeah.
right, vote against it, if you don't want them to.
I really
get
didn't
them.
understand that, so
Yeah.
again, it was 2 maximum anyway, you had to wait 6 months. So I don't know what, again, what was the real goal, 2 to 1, so I just don't understand it, and nobody's gonna explain it to you. I don't know if a lot of people, I'll say it to anybody that wants to, I don't know, a lot of them even know what they're voting on. The core group working on it did, and you know that's the case, but I don't know how far the explanation went out to everyone across the state, 'cause we've asked other representatives, and they didn't really know what was in front of them. They
So how does
voted
this,
adjourned.
how does it affect us personally, given the pool issue and whether?
It takes a lot longer to get this done, because you don't wanna put multiple ones on in a single year,
Right.
so ballpark, let's put some timing on it. So if we get, say, local option change done, say something happens, public votes for it this fall, local option, great. It's 2024 fall before I can even put a ballot on for the pool. Say it goes through, it's 2025 now before I can actually put one on for golf. You know, it just extends all this stuff out, that even if we have the capacity to borrow, and we do, I mean, we worked hard on getting that down, as we talked about, we still can't do it until it's approved, and the votes have to come, and it just takes a lot longer.
So we can't do a pool vote this fall?
I don't know what you'd be voting on.
Yeah,
We
'cause
would
we
have
don't have
time
a
to get
plan.
renderings, we'd be
Yeah.
able to show somebody, this is what's gonna look like.
Right.
It'd be kind of a, here's a big number, trust us, it'll be
We don't have
nice.
enough time to do details.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. And so to really do it right and give it a better chance of passage, you wanna work through
Sure.
what it will look like, get public input, here's what it looks like, here's the size, here's how we're gonna fund it.
Your budget.
I don't know if we can figure that all out in 4 months, 3 months, because there's a certain time you have to back off that date and get it, I think it's August even, you have to decide, are we putting on something for the fall vote? So we couldn't possibly have something done in 2 months. It'd be a wasted vote if we did that, and I don't want to. So that's the bulk of it. That's about what I got through in a sense. In the financial report, the AFR has a whole ton of reporting now it has to go on. So poor Val's gonna have to work through that. It's a whole lot more complicated about debt, what's on, what isn't, what it was for, what's outstanding, what isn't. It really increased the amount of level of reporting that has to happen also. And so the paperwork got a whole lot thicker for the budgets when we get done, release the fall AFR. So that's about as brief as I can make it for you. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. It's what it is. We'll find a way. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's what we're hired to do. I'll find a way. It's gonna be longer and it's gonna be harder to try and get this done from a budget standpoint.
Is this happening in other states?
That I don't know. I have a hard enough time following this one, much less.
Property tax reform, whether it's similar, I'm not sure, but it's in
Republican
the same kind of.
led legislatures or
yeah,
both
it's the
parties?
same.
Different.
Well, every state has a different funding stream too. Iowa's local funding is primarily property tax. I used to live in South Dakota. They used to have a tax on everything, not just real estate. You had to put down your bank account, you had corn in your corn crib, I mean, everything, and then they would charge a tax against that. And then they discovered gambling, and then there was no tax at all.
Yeah.
Texas discovered oil, they don't have any tax. So every state's different.
Income tax.
Income tax, yeah.
Yeah, and they're always finding a way. You're gonna get the money somehow. We have a lot of comparisons here about when I lived in Missouri, you had a personal property tax. And that was a tax on every single vehicle, tractor, snowmobile, trailer you had, every single year, no matter how long you kept it. It just never fell off. They always came at Christmas. That was nice. And that's how they funded a lot of their stuff. Now you might get your license renewed 3 years for $20. Well, the balance is coming through that. So the money comes from somewhere. And a lot of states on income tax have super high sales tax.
Right.
That's how that's offset. So that'll be the key discussion going forward. If Iowa truly does go to 3.9 or eventually zero income tax, where's that gonna come from? Well, it's gonna have to be sales tax. We don't have any money left to take, so it's gonna have to come from sales tax. And that's not being discussed either openly, but that's the only way you do it. That's how Florida, Texas, that's how they've all done it. You double up your sales tax to make that money come in. Otherwise, it doesn't work. There's no free
And that's
lunch.
already started, hasn't it, with this year, retirement income is not taxable.
I think that's true, yeah. That's one of the many other bills that came through that we just haven't had a chance to tackle. This was the nastiest one. Just to figure out what we're dealing with, because some of this will kick in, I mean, a matter of this fall, this is what we're starting into, that's fiscal '25. We'll be having to deal with this fall, so we'll be working with Val and others, just kind of start to get a handle on what's happening and move forward. Like I said, we'll find a way, it's just got a lot harder. And it's gonna take a little longer to get this done, so. And that's as of today. I don't know what next year will bring. That's the worst of it. We're not done. I just don't know what else will come next year.
It's really
Year
hard to
after.
look out multiple years right now. with
It's
anything.
really hard. And again, to Rod's point, I'd love to be able to give you a document that says, here it is. What I will get for you, here's a list of what things cost in here, here's a list of what costs here, and we will pick these off as we can. Every single year, we'll go to the list, we'll start taking them off. And it'll all be in conjunction with pool, golf, etc. So if this doesn't go through, maybe these things get done instead. We'll just flex as we go, but we'll have those lists for you this fall for budget. We'll have all that figured out. Dollar amounts, possibilities, it just may not be in a single document because this really threw a pretty big wrench in everything. It just made it really difficult to track. Not knowing the maximum 2-3%. That's what you're gonna get now for growth. What does that translate into taxes? We don't know what rollback's gonna be, which that affects it as well. So it really is kind of a difficult thing to predict.
It would be a real pickle if that 7% plus inflation scenario pans out. I don't think it will. I think
Yeah.
that's gonna fall apart, but that would be just a disaster.
Yes, it would.
Because then It's up 7, you can be a 3, and that would be a mess.
It is, and the fact that we just went through that, and then this passes on the heels of it, makes you wonder, were we not paying attention that what if this doesn't go away or it starts to resurface back? What does this look like now? And how do you continue to function and do the things you want to do? So
To cheer for deflation.
So that's what I've got. I mean, it's best I can summarize the summary of the summary. It's
Thank you.
to that level, so if you have any other questions, you want to know any more, just let me know. Happy to talk to you about what we got, but that's where we sit.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Section L, reports from boards and commissions. 4 items there. One is Waverly Municipal Airport Commission minutes of April 13th, 23. Item 2, Waverly Human Equity and Diversity Commission minutes of April 11th, 23. Item 3, Human Equity and Diversity Commission minutes of May 9th, 23. And item 4 is the Waverly Senior Center calendar for June 2023. All received into the record. Moves us to Section M, staff updates.
Yes, I think we have just a few tonight.
If you haven't got out to a game yet at Cedar River Park, get out there and check it out. Even if you don't have anybody playing, pick a field, watch some youth play. It's going very well out there. Concession stand open tonight and pretty busy already, so things are going well there. We'll be walking through the Parks building for a final inspection next Tuesday is the plan, so hopefully Park staff will be getting moved back over to their break room and offices area. And it's been a while since we last met. The pool is open. So different, what's the best word for it? Gets a little more difficult every day. Something new comes up every day. So Ari, I think you can back me up on that. So anyway, that's all I've got for tonight.
That's all we have tonight, sir.
I'll just expand on the concession stand, though, not to dismiss that the Kiwanis Club operating that, a lot of the funds that are generated from that, and like Christmas tree sales and that kind of stuff, went into the park and the continuation of program support. So if you stop out just to grab something to take home because you don't want to cook, it goes right back into the community. So it's a great opportunity. City Council comments. Meyers, Mr. Birgen.
Just an observation, I saw the news, this building in Davenport that collapsed, which is very scary, and I'm not sure that it's looking good for the city of Davenport in terms of their enforcement of laws, and I think that it should be a wake-up call for every city to make sure that they are enforcing their building codes and their enforcement of those things. So I don't know how it's going to shake out. I think it's going to be pretty ugly by the time we hear everything in the end, but I think that every city should be checking to make sure that they're enforcing their own building codes. And anyone who wants to discuss city business with me, come join me for a beer at the Wooden Foot afterwards.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Schneider. Mr. Drenkow.
I'll pass.
Okay. Rathe. Any of our guests?
I gotta say, the legislative update really was awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's not fun to
The
talk about.
delivery was awesome,
Yeah.
not the content.
No,
It wasn't Morgan Freeman delivery, but it was delivery. But it also wasn't Samuel L. Jackson.
No,
Probably almost could have been.
I feel like a Stephen King novel a little bit, but
Samuel Jackson about to come
because
out,
I
I tell
mean,
you.
I like to look at what our legislature is doing, and even yet, while going through like just the big news of the day, I didn't hear about any of that. And that's the stuff that affects people, like really affects you. So like, appreciate you bringing that to light because it
pay
makes
no
me
attention
upset
to the man
about
behind
it.
the curtain.
But to segue off of that, though, or expand on that, you didn't learn about most of it until after it was signed and it was actually published. You know, it really
There were
wasn't.
bits and pieces rumbled, but a lot of
Right.
this didn't come in until the end. It
So
was done. There was
even trying to follow it through
Yeah.
the legislative process was difficult until it was
Until it
done.
was already done.
Yeah. So, Mr. Kangas,
Nothing tonight.
nothing? City council meetings, you should tell a lot of people, can be a learning experience, learn a lot. So I appreciate the others that have joined us this evening. So just wanted to thank Jen for her work tonight as deputy city clerk, filling in for Carla, I don't think I called you Carla once, if I'm not mistaken. So that's all I had for tonight, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Kangas, second by Birgen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.